The question that is being asked is, where is the monument of remembrance for the victims of the Marikana Massacre? That's the question from the community in the Northwest. They believe if government was really sorry for the killings, a shrine in honor of the 34 miners would have already been built. This week, the country will mark 7 years since one of the worst incidents in post-apartheid South Africa. Newzroom Africa's Malungelo Boy reports. Please do note that the story might be upsetting for some viewers.
This is the infamous Marikana copy. It is here where striking miners often gathered in August 2012. And also the same spot where members of the South African Police Service gunned down 34 of them on August 16th of the same year. An incident that left the nation paralyzed with shock. But the place where so many lives were lost has now been turned into a training ground for aspiring drivers, while some use it as a shortcut to get to their various destinations. Some of those who were injured here say it cannot be right that an area where some of their friends and colleagues died fighting for a better pay remains like this. They want government to put up a monument in respect of those who were killed. In November 2012, now retired Anglican Archbishop Joe Sioga told the Marikana Commission that the hilltop must be declared a monument as it is now a sacred space. Sentiments shared by this resident who says the area has become a haven for criminals.
Ngendlela ekuyiyo asithathi ngoba la ndawo indawo eyafela imiphefumulo yabantu. Ngoku kodwa indawo engenasidima. Abantwana bayadlala phaya. Usuka abantu kwindawo esingayaziyo uve kuthiwa naku kubonwa isidumbu le entabeni. Masibona isidumbu asaziwa nokuthi sesaphi. Abantu bayabowulahla benza izinto ezirongo bawulahlela khona phaya entabeni. Nabantu mhlawumbe umuntu azala umntana amkrwitsha umfaka phaya entabeni. So la ndawo leya uba bekuya ngokunokwethu bisangasibe indawo enesidima because indawo eyatshonela abantu ikilungiswe ngendlela eyiyo ihlonipheke. Uba bekuya ngokwethu ingasibe indawo ehloniphekayo engafani nje abantu badlalele kuyo.
Two mine workers who survived the shooting say government must show that it cares.
Nakula ndawo sesibulawelwa kulo njengoba sesizama thina uba makube kuzame kutshintsho pha ibe indawo enohlonipheka yobiyelwa yabona kungabe kunziwa nantoni because abantu abaninji ngolaa ndawo sebenze i-driving school kuyo sefundiselana ukuqhuba imoto pha seyingathi laa ndawo leya seyithembe ikadinemithi bona bayajabula nje mkwasuswa laa mithi yabona
ukwenzeni uba nabantu abasuka kwamanye amazwe xa befuna ubona le ndawo yasemarikana bafika babone indawo entle. Loo nto le ndicela urhulumente wala Northwest nekhampani yinto ebefana uba bahlangane ngayo leyo babonisane emveni beze nayo besithi hayi sicinga ukwenza kanje kule ndawo not isixhoma kwi-union ngo-2012 ngo-2019 ngoku akho nto ibonakalayo kulaa ndawo uba kukhona into engenziwa akho nto siyivayo ebonalisayo uba laa ndawo ikhathalelwe mhlawumbi kukhona into ibengenzeka pha ezosenelisa mhlawumbi sisijabulise thina abantu belimele emane siyidlula kulaa ndawo.
The Northwest government says there are no plans for a monument here, but concedes it's not against the idea and says it would have to be done in consultation with all those affected. For Newzroom Africa on Channel 405, I'm Malungelo Boy in Marikana in the Northwest.
Now, tomorrow marks 7 years since the deadly Marikana Massacre. Government has been widely criticized for not doing enough for the families of those who lost their lives on that fateful day. Joining me now in the studio is NUM's Deputy President, Mr. Phillip Vilakazi, as well as our input editor right here on Newzroom Africa, Bongiwe Zwane. A very good afternoon to both of you, and thank you for making the time to join us. Let's start with you, Bongiwe. I mean, you were actually on the field, on the ground during that time, and just 2 days after the massacre, you were right there in Marikana. Won't you take us back to what you found when you got there?
Good afternoon, Thami. Well, what I found when I got there was brokenness, which still exists to this very day. And I found widows confused about where their husbands were. I found widows confused about whether or not their husbands were either dead or alive, and there was a list that was put on a caravan for people to check those who've been arrested. It was mayhem. It was quite chaotic. But at the same time, I remember that Saturday afternoon, I then got caught up in a crossfire where police were also still having running battles with the protesters. And I remember EFF leader Julius Malema was there as well. And it was quite a day that, the massacre may have happened 2 days before, but it was, the tension, the anger, the brokenness, the pain was quite palpable at the time. And I think one of the other things that really struck me was one widow who in fact, she was not a widow at the time, she thought she was. And luckily for her, she was reunited with her husband 2 days later, but she was feeding her children rice and cooking oil because there was nothing else to give to the kids at the time. And she said that because the breadwinner had now disappeared and there's no money in the house, she really had no way of making any plans for them to have something to eat. And we saw quite a lot of animosity towards police, which is still one of the things that you see in Marikana to this very day.
Now, Mr. Vilakazi, at the time, the NUM was very much at the forefront in the minds. How was it for you at that time?
Thami and the viewers as well as my colleague here, I think, let me set the record straight. The only organization during this was the National Union of Mine Workers. I remember vividly because I was a chairperson of Northeast region in the part of Limpopo. Maybe the only thing that must be put very categoric here, this incident started with the RDOs, which represents rock drill operators of Impala. There was wage negotiations which collapsed. And in the collapse of that particular process, that's when this issue of demanding to say, we work harder than what we are paid. And I remember, as a trade union, in terms of the Labor Relations Act, we have got a recognition agreement which regulates the do's and the don'ts. But as a mine worker myself, all the information that I get here, immediately we leave here, remind me, I will show you pictures of the days before the incident of the mass shooting, where part of those who were killed, if I can show you those pictures, I mean, it will be up to you to decide what kind of a feeling you will develop. But to be precise, the National Union of Mine Workers, as the mouthpiece of the workers, it happens that amongst us, as leaders of the union, more especially the branch leadership, in the space of Rustenburg as a whole, there were this kind of misunderstandings and perceptions of saying other people have given what others don't access. But to be in the cooking...
What do you mean by that? Other people have been given
Yes.
what others don't access?
Remember, if you are a leader, there are suspicions that this leader has been given maybe a pack or a black bag in our language. And that thing created a situation where the highest percentage of workers, if I may be precise with you, if you may just be patient on that one, mine workers, as an experienced mine worker, of course the job that we do is not worth the salary that we get. And in every wage negotiation, we are expected as leaders to bring triple the salary that workers are getting, which is not possible. It has never been possible. Remember the struggle of the National Union of Mine Workers since inception in '82. It has been a living wage, and we still stand about that. But to come to the issue that has been touched here, and I will come back on this one if time allows. In all these commemorations, the NUM decided to take a backseat on two reasons. The manner in which the leadership of NUM was treated in the process left us with no option but to say to comrades, save your life and observe the situation. Remember, workers were led by a striking committee. There was no union there.
And if I can just come in
Yeah.
there, I'm sorry. In the report of the Marikana Commission, one of the things that the NUM came under fire for, and it was really one that your colleague, Mr. Eric Gilichana, ended up having to concede, is that, if I quote from this, in terms of the wage agreement, NUM could not call on its members to go on strike. However, there was a course of action that NUM could follow if it wished to address the issues raised by the RTOs. And this goes back to the time when the strike is starting. And NUM could have approached Lonmin in a bid to open up talks and on amending the wage agreement. And then the commission then quotes that Mr. Gilichana himself confirmed that it was nevertheless possible for parties to amend that particular agreement that was in place if it were necessary. Then doesn't it look like at the time the workers felt that they had no home to go to because the NUM was not taking their plight forward?
Even though the opportunities were there?
Yes, because if the commission says there were opportunities and Mr. Eric confirms that there could have been opportunities, don't you then take some responsibility for how the situation then unfolded?
You see, each and every game has got its own rules. If you lead wage negotiations, they will have terms, either 12 months, either 24 months, either 36 months. There is no way in which, in the process of a standing wage agreement, you can collapse the standing agreement because there are no demands. All you do is to accumulate those demands. Come time when the sitting agreements lapse, you raise the same issue.
But it collapsed nonetheless because that particular situation was not a normal one. It was an abnormal situation which, and at the end of the strike, it changed the face of collective bargaining.
You have got a point. Remember, if you are saying the situation is not normal, we are a trade union with a constitution that compels us to sue or be sued. There's no way in which a material condition can make us forget the rule of the game.
But is it not incumbent on you as leadership to read the environment and the lay of the land and then adjust as per the situation dictates?
Exactly. You have got a point there. Remember, even if you adjust, I said to you when I opened here, we operate within a recognition agreement, which is an outproduct of the act. There is no way in which, if you feel the kitchen is hot, all you need to do, you cannot dismiss the heat. It's either you quit.
So tell us then, what was your involvement directly on the day that the shootings actually started as NUM? What had you said to your workers? What decision had you taken on that day as to how you're going to deal with this impasse?
Taking responsibility as Deputy President now, the then administration of the union, the President himself, Honorable Comrade Zwane, went there to speak to members. He was not given that opportunity to speak. There is no way in which we can say NUM didn't do anything. Every leader went there in an attempt
How do you wait for to be given an opportunity to speak when you can see that it is tense, when these are your members that you're trying to address and you're trying to chart a way forward? Who do you need permission from to talk to your own constituents?
Maybe as an experienced person speaking to workers, if workers are in any form of action, the only slogan that we know is either to chant a revolutionary song or to call the word Amandla. And if they want you to speak, they will listen. And even if you can do that, and if they don't listen, how will you speak while people are singing?
Are you saying that you had no control over your workers at the time?
By that time, of course, the situation went out of hands.
And does it not then symbolize the fact that even to this very day, there's still that kind of battle on the ground? That the NUM by that time, was it not a symbol that you had lost touch with what was happening on the ground, that you had lost touch with your members? Because for them to now want to, as some of the union members put it some of the union leaders put it at the time, that they were running amok, for them to run amok, it meant they were not being listened to.
A loss of confidence in the NUM.
You see, let me show you, confidence is not on sale. It's a process. It's about humanity. From where one sits now, even now as I speak to you, we are in the process of wage negotiations. Demands will never be the same. Even if you can achieve what satisfied Thami, it cannot satisfy Phillip. What do? You cannot strike a balance in life. Life itself is a dynamic situation. But maybe to come precisely on the issue that is also touchy, from the 44 of the killed, remember there are 10 before the 34. Right. Even in the 3 lines, immediately we took over leadership in June last year, we were approached by 10 widows. I was touched when you raised the issue of somebody feeding kids the way in which he thought the breadwinner is not there. I'm a father figure myself. I know what it means to take responsibility. The 10 came and said, NUM, we are here, we have never received even a cent. We are here, we are told that there are trust accounts which the monies were raised using the names of our husbands. But the benefit part of it is a problem. Sitting here, we were told that there will be houses built for us. What is it that the NUM can do? Because we are told that there are people who are paid by the state.
If I can
but
come
you are
in
not
there.
part of this. What is it that the NUM can do for us?
If I can come in there, but Phillip, I just want to ask you, you're mentioning the 10, and I think we all know that of the 10 people killed in the days before, 3 of them are part of the 34 because that's the commemoration that happens tomorrow. It's normally done for 37. And then there is a Mrs. Langa who is sitting in Tonga, in Mpumalanga, who hardly ever even gets any kind of support. And then you have an Aisha Fundi who is lucky enough to have some of the lawyers from the NUM. And then you've got Petunia Lipaku, you've got Lizzie Maubane, who are sitting in Pretoria, who are, one is a sister to the police officers, one is a widow to the police officer. And then you've got Eric Mabebe's family, then you've got Isaiah Twala's family. Now, when you look at all these people that have died in the days before, 3 of them are with the 34. Which of the 7 have approached you that you've helped? Because we spoke to Malanga a few days ago and she said that she's not getting any assistance. And I don't recall any commemoration done from the NUM side to say we've been silenced, but we're choosing to still do it nonetheless.
Okay. The whole process of the 44, including the 34 and the 10, all of them, including those who are deceased, they died being members of the National Union of Mine Workers. And you must understand, if you want me to talk politics, I will do. But allow me to deal with the social part of this issue. Before we can play in the gallery of politics, can we clarify the administration issue of the situation? Remember, as the National Union of Mine Workers, there is no way, from Falam Commission, orders were straight. What is it that needs to be done? But in a situation where there are some contested or contestation of power, if we are revolutionary, I mean, given like the way we are, you have to take a position that says, allow people to play in the space.
If you'd allow me here to come in, and if you could really answer to Bongiwe is asking here. You're talking politics, you're talking power. What she's asking, what I'm asking, is the human side of it.
Okay.
These are widows of your members. Where does the time come to say, let's take care of what needs to be done, even while the politics and the power dynamics are being played out elsewhere, but you as the union making sure that you ring fence and you safeguard those who are yours?
And if I can just add before you answer that, maybe specifically answer on what you have done for Mr. Isaiah Twala's family, who was found on the 14th of August with an animal skull on his chest, and he was killed because there was a suspicion that he was an NUM spy. Have you reached out to the Twala family? Have you spoken to them? What is being done at human level? Because I don't think there is a political contention there.
There is. Let me help you. Comrade Eric Dilichan was the Secretary of Health and Safety. He knows each and every member of these families, including the 34. I personally, with Comrade Mpopa Gedi, met the 10 that you included. That includes Umamfundi in the regional office of NUM. And the points that you are raising, like we are saying, we don't contest power here. We want to assist where needs be. We said to them, allow us to go and approach the state and say to the state, let us not talk 34 or 10. Give us a comprehensive report of what is it that the state is intending doing. But what has been the first thing, because insofar as we are concerned, on a monthly basis, families need to be taken care of. The first response we got is that there has been an undertaking by Lonmin that part of those who lost breadwinners, they will be integrated at work.
Have you checked?
They will work themselves. And part of those we met, they said, we are working, but the environment is not the way in which, remember, if Thami, if you are taken now to say, go and replace your husband, Every day when you walk around where your husband works or in any environment connected, what comes in your mind? Is it because you are employed, or it comes to say, I wasn't supposed to be here?
But if I can just ask you specifically, Bab Vilakazi, there's a widow who's sitting in Tonga. She's far removed from everything. Just post in fact, a year and a half into the Marikana Commission, she had no representation. Her husband was stabbed 18 times on the morning of the 13th of August, and that is Julius Lang. And then she screams one afternoon in the commission, she is heard. And after that, she still battles at the end of the commission to find out who killed her husband. I, as a journalist, had to break the news to her that a report has been released because nobody had even told her that the report is out. And then you go to a widow like that, even years later, you find that the status quo remains. Now my question is, for a widow like that, there's nothing political. There's not even anybody, any political party reaching out to her. Has the NUM reached out to such a person? And that is Mam Mary Lang, one of the people that you say were killed in the days before, which is the 10 that you say you have been in touch with.
Thami, allow me with the public and to sympathize with the information that I'm getting here. I cannot say it's a new information. For me, it's just to get deeper than that, because the person who was responsible on these files, he still exists. I'm not going to disclose some of these things because the situation of Marikana is not as easy as the way people can talk about it. But believe you me, soon if not late, we are going to give you a comprehensive report of what is it that has been done, because one of the caution that were given by the widows who met us, they said, there is no way in which we can sanction a building of a monument if we are not involved. For an example, there is a picture that shows where a body has been bent. I have never been in Marikana, I must be honest with you, because when I think of that particular environment, of course, something happens in me. But then it says, if there is a need to build a monument or to reach out and all these other social things that we need to do, that one we need to do, and we are going to do it.
Why does it take 7 years, and why is it taking 7 years for this report to come out?
That's a genuine question. Remember, if you're saying why did it take 7 years, equally, how many times must it take for it to happen?
But you know, the thing is, people have died today. The widows are here today. They've got children to take care of. There are questions that are being asked, even from your own remaining members who are still part of NUM. They also want to know, what are you doing for them? Because you know what? It could have been them and not the ones that did pass away. Why not even a year after? Why 7 years? The report is still something that is going to be happening.
Like I'm saying, Thami, in a contested situation, you're supposed to look who is in the gallery. Remember, in a power struggle, you don't just come and bulldoze because you have been there. You allow the one whom the rest are looking at him to say, please deliver. I said to you when I come here, we have got information that says there are 3 trust accounts made for the alleviation of this social distress, taking kids to school, building shelter for them. We cannot rush to this. But the process says all 3 accounts must be audited. And when they are audited, first thing first, who benefited out of the very same trusts except the 44? And if that happened, that's when we are going to say to you, I cannot talk now here like I just want to be popular. I don't work for popularity myself. I need facts. Immediately we've got the Union report, we'll come to you, Thami, and say, Newzroom Africa, this is the document, this is the investigation that we got, this is the plan that we have to reach out for all the Langas and many of those. But the end result of it, there is no way in which it will remain secret. Truth will be out. Like I said to you, allow me to show you what we have. We are building up something, as you're saying, why are we not commemorating? We had a number of massacres in the industry. That is very historic. It doesn't need us to do things without involving families. That will be wrong.
But
and
why
if I
have
can
you...
just
okay,
ask,
go
I'm
ahead,
so
Bob.
sorry, Thami. I just need to ask about this particular report. And the reason I'm so insistent on some of these people that have fallen through the cracks is that when Mamlanga's story was aired this week, one of the things she says is, I just wish I could just drink poison and die because I have no money to feed these children. And they keep looking to me for something. Now, when can we expect such a report to be out and such a way forward for some of, you know, those that, because Umamlanga is complaining about compensation while the others have it. Now, if your fight is for the ones from the days before, when can they at least say, on this month, we'll have some glimmer of hope?
No. Let me correct that. Our fight is not for the 10. Our fight is for the whole 44.
Okay.
Part of it, what is worrying, is to say how it happened that out of the 44, there is 10 excluded.
I don't think it's 10. We can safely say 7 because the other 3 were on the 13th and they were strikers themselves and they're part of the commemoration. So there's 7. What happens?
Part of either 10 or 7, when my colleague, allow me to tell you something that I was not supposed to, but I'm forced now to disclose. Remember, Thami, there are some ethics in each and every situation. The information we're getting, some of the families are not in terms or in good terms insofar as who has to have his hands in the cooking. Some are excluded, but for their own social internal difficulties. Ours is a comprehensive that says if there was something meant for the 44, whichever way, as it was a conclusion, can we find whether this family is fighting or is not fighting? That will be none of our business. But the main issue will be we have delivered. For an example, tomorrow, as a journalist, go and ask those who are commemorating to say, where on earth can you commemorate an incident where simple administration issue of saying, are those who were told to have a replacement as a breadwinner in the cooking, are those who were supposed to be paid? Because before Tina, we can do anything like commemoration, we must clean the house first.
Before we continue with the cleaning of the house, let's go for a quick break and we'll return after this. We are in conversation with the NUM's Deputy President, Mr. Phillip Vilakazi, and joining us for our conversation is our very own input editor, Bongiwe Zwane. Our conversation continues just after this. Lots of questions still to ask.